All right, guys. So, most common injury we hear about in the fire service, you learn about it as a young fireman, is back injuries. Evan, you just shared a very powerful story in regards to a guy you're training currently, but you also have one as well. So I'd like you to share them both to let people understand why doing this work is so important.
Yeah, the guy I'm working with right now, he was told by doctors that they were done with him. They weren't even going to do surgery. All they could offer him was pain pills. So he was turned on to me by somebody that I had worked with before, and we talked. I was in the academy with him, and I said, let's start slow, let's use some foundation. We practiced that for a month or two. He started to have some results. We moved into him doing loaded carries, side planks, and then hiking. And he just contacted me a couple weeks ago, and he's already back to work, which he's super excited about, and he's out of pain completely. And he is so thankful. And that kind of transitions, and this is the reason why I'm so passionate about that, is my own story. So about 10 years ago, I suffered a back injury, pretty bad. Doctor told me, you need surgery, you should stop being a firefighter. I was 28 at the time. You know, that wasn't an option. I was just starting my career. So I kept searching for things to help and fix the problem. Luckily, I found Foundation, the original book. I practiced it, I was dedicated to it. Eventually, I fully recovered from it. And from there is what really drove my passion for other firefighters. Because I constantly see men and women on the job who are just complaining of injuries, you know, telling me that doctors have given up on them or other people have given up on them. And I just don't like, and I don't think it should be that way, that they should be left out without any help. You know, and I think it's important for every firefighter to at least get access or exposure to this.
Yeah, and I think so often we look at it as it's just part of getting older, right? We always heard the adage.
Yeah.
And if you're comfortable talking about it, I really want to kind of bring up, you know, one, he's told, find a new career. To me, I asked that to Mike Escamilla, pro BMX guy with more surgery than count. First thing he said to me is, find a new doctor. So that says a lot. But also, can you mention what the other guy told you as far as how he's feeling now after working with you, and kind of what was said to him?
So yeah, what was said to him was like pretty much the same thing that I experienced. He's like, there's no hope for you. And a lot of times these doctors, unfortunately, are kind of callous because they see people every day, but he was told that, and he was so hopeless in that situation. And he was coming to me in desperation, like, I will do anything, just please tell me there's something that you can help me with. And I couldn't promise him anything. You know, it doesn't work for everybody, but at least he could try it.
Yeah.
So he was able to do it, and you know, he was able to get out of pain, and now he's got kind of an ownership back in his life. He's not a victim of his pain anymore or his injury.
That's awesome. That's, you know, one of the biggest goals we talk about is empowerment through the work, empowering the user not to need us, right?
100%.
All right, so I wrote some questions down for you because you've been doing a lot with LA County. So what have you done here as far as bringing the work into the department?
You've helped out a lot too, so it's kind of been a team effort. You've been there along the way, but you know, we started in recruit training. I was assigned there in charge of PT, and I saw that as an opportunity to bring Foundation into this environment, and the recruits started practicing it daily, 10 minutes a day. And I started noticing, and other training captains started noticing, hey, the recruits look like they're not in as much pain. And in fact, they're not complaining as much about pain. And their performance is actually going up as well. Like, what are you doing? So I decided to track that. And it turned out that, yeah, injury report forms did go down and performance did go up. So I continued that for a few years, for a few academies. I think we've done over 10 academies, over 500 recruits have been exposed to it. And then from there, I wanted to bring it to the operations personnel. You know, the people that I feel like really need it are the ones that have been on the job for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So the department, you know, didn't see eye to eye with me initially on it, righteously so, because they're like, who is this guy just bringing this random program into our department? So what I had to do is kind of prove to them that it works. So we decided to do a series of tests. And the first test we did was the Fms Screen. You know, the functional movement screen assesses your range of motion, your athletic ability, risk of injury. And originally there was 12 firefighters that took the test. They did Foundation 5 days a week, 10 minutes a day for 8 weeks. Their scores were originally 14. Went up to 18.
What does that mean, though?
Exactly, so that's a good question. So 14 is kind of around that injury zone. Orange County Fire Authority did a study with their recruits, and when they were at 14 or below, their risk of failing was something significant. It was like 90%. Don't quote me on that, but it was somewhere out there. You can look up that study. So to me, and to somebody, you know, understanding that study, it looks like you're near injury. You know, you're near not performing like you should. So those firefighters did foundation 5 days a week, 10 minutes a day, and again bumped their score up to 18, but they improved in shoulder mobility, hamstring flexibility, overall stability, and proprioception, which are all important things on the job. That wasn't good enough for the department, believe it or not, so we had to continue. So the next round of testing we did included 4 things, which I think are kind of like the pinnacle of trying to assess a firefighter's health. The first one was lung volume.
Okay.
We tested it using a spirometry reading. So we tested them, again, before and after foundation by a doctor, Dr. Pat Helma, 5 days a week, 10 minutes a day for 8 weeks, and their lung volume went up actually 4.1%, which is significant. As firefighters, the first indicator that we've developed a respiratory disease is a drop in spirometry. In fact, we get that every year here in LA with our physicals. The next thing we assessed was grip strength, using that grip dynamometer, that thing you squeeze really hard. You know, that's correlated to longevity, to heart disease, to stroke. And you wouldn't think foundation makes you stronger, but in fact, it does. Your ability to make that mind-body connection increases when you do foundation. I mean, everybody that's done it kind of knows that, and that's an obvious statement.
That's why it gets harder.
It does.
Using all the muscles.
100% it gets harder. And everyone's grip strength went up. On average, I think the right side was like 4.1%, the left side was 4.6%. So we saw a huge increase. The next one that we tested was mental stress. We all know how important behavioral health is in the fire service. So we tested those firefighters subjectively. They had to fill out a survey before and after doing foundation. And what we found is that their mental stress dropped 40.7% immediately following doing foundation. That's huge. I mean, you can give somebody a tool that drops their stress in half and prepares them for the job. I mean, that's kind of a win-win to me. And the last thing we tested was the Mcgill torso exam. So we've all known that foundation, anecdotally through our own experience and coaching people, can get people out of back pain. But we didn't really have any objective proof, you know, on the outside, any of that scientific proof. So we tested them on the Mcgill torso exam, which included an extended position, a flexed position, like you're at a 45-degree angle sit-up, right-sided plank, left-sided plank. And if you look at Mcgill's research, he says that the best indicator that somebody's going to suffer a back injury is low endurance scores in this test, so low times, and an unbalanced score between front and back, right and left. So everybody that did this, on average, everybody increased significantly. It was like from 20 seconds in the extended position to 55. Pretty crazy. From 16 seconds in the flex position to 55. And then pay attention to the numbers I'm saying, because not only did the people increase in time, but they balanced too. The right-sided plank went from around 16 seconds to 33, left-sided plank from 17 seconds to 33.
Just doing foundation.
Just doing foundation. We didn't do any rotational work, but their side planks they held it longer and they became more balanced, which is wild to me. So that is, to me, objective proof through using the Mcgill torso exam that they reduced their risk of back injury.
When you talk about doing the program and giving them 10 minutes a day, what was it? What was the exact you guys followed?
Yeah, 5 days a week, 10 minutes a day for 8 weeks.
Okay. How supervised were they? I mean, what was the scenario that they were in?
That's a good question. We gave them an in-person course at the drill, training that we did per battalion. From there, they had access to the online program that you guys came out and helped film with us, that 8-week firefighter program, and they just followed it online, daily, 5 days a week, 10 minutes a day for 8 weeks. And so they were on their own when they did it. And they all saw these results just from having an initial 1-hour drill and then following that online program by themselves.
Yeah. Well, I love the thing you brought up about the muscular endurance, and I think it's a really big one I want to touch on, because when you go into Mcgill's book, he hits on coming off of a back injury. The biggest mistake people make is they want to strength train first instead of building muscular endurance. And so I always, we chat about all the time, is when you're doing foundation training and you feel these global burning sensations of muscles working, that's the important part of working with an instructor or a therapist, is knowing what you're feeling. Because I've experienced, I don't know about you, a lot of people that explain muscle activation as pain. And so that's where it gets real important to make sure you got the right set of eyes on you working with you. But it's been amazing to see people come back very quick by working that in. Were there any other kind of crazy what the hecks that came out of people doing the program. I remember one of the female officers had dealt with something.
Yeah, we had one female captain who had diastasis recti, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, after her pregnancy. She had twins. So she had a pretty severe separation. I think it was about an inch. And she did this program, and through doing it 5 days a week, 10 minutes a day for 8 weeks, she saw it completely close up. And the crazy part about that was she was told by a doctor that she couldn't really do anything. Like there was not going to be much hope for her. And it hurt for her to do sit-ups. Obviously you can't do that when you have that big of a separation. It hurt for her to do planks, anything. But what we saw was from her using the 8-point plank, that's where she really saw the biggest benefit from it. Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty interesting.
Cool. All right, ladies. After kids, 8-point planks. That's a tried and tested now,
yeah,
I guess.
It really worked.
Right on. So any other notes, man? Like from here, what's the mission with where you plan to go with it, bro?
It's a good question. For me, I just want to continue to give as many people access to this information as possible. So right now within our department, with that 8-week program, we're working towards getting it streamlined on a better platform, because right now it's just on the department's training site and everyone has to log into a computer for that. So the next step is to get it on an app on our phone, which we all have. So that should be pretty straightforward. But from there, for me, it's really about reaching the national and international community of the fire service. Everybody needs it and everybody should have access to this. So I really want to travel. I want to introduce it to fire departments that have never heard of this before, because I know that every single department could benefit from this. We know how significant injuries are, how much money is spent from department to department, and this is really, we've seen a real drastic decrease in injuries by just using this.
Yeah. So talking on injuries, man, like with people going through them, what advice would you have? Or the guys that are on the job that are gutting it out while they're in pain?
For one, like, I feel what you're going through. It sucks. Like, I've been there. I've sat in that doctor's office with no hope, hearing that, you know, I need surgery and I should stop being a firefighter. So I know what that's like. But just, you know, take a second and understand there are programs out there that can work for you. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of effort, but you can pull yourself out of that position and, kind of like we talked about before, take back ownership of your life and not be a victim to your pain or your injury anymore.
You find how much of it comes back to doing the work?
I have to do the work every day, a minimum of like 10 to 15 minutes a day. I try to put in like 20 to 25 minutes because I do so much with, you know, staying fit, with the kettlebells that we talked about. And the more I use kettlebells, the more I have to do FT. But if I don't do it, I pay for it. I want to be able to get up at a moment's notice and go to a fire and not be in pain. That's kind of like my goal. I want to be able to, at a moment's notice, to go home and play with my kids and not be in pain. And in order to be that way, I have to practice it every single day. I have to be dedicated.
So what else, for everybody else out there, in addition to foundation training and kettlebell training, what other wellness, what other things are you doing to stay on top of your wellness, to really bring out, you know, that full health mindset?
Yeah, there's a lot right now to choose from in the health circle. So I think breath practice is a big thing. I think firefighters can significantly benefit from, you know, having a certain type of breathing practice. And I personally like hypoventilation for firefighters. We're constantly stimulated. We're constantly elevated. The tones go off. We're drinking coffee. We're up all night. Yada, yada, yada. We gotta, I know you know what I'm talking about. We gotta learn to be able to bring it down. And what's cool about that with hypoventilation is you can combine it with your workout. You know, you can do a couple kettlebell swings, 5 to 10, and then you can see how long it takes for you to bring your heart rate back down. So I like to practice that. The other one is cold therapy. I love taking cold showers, baths, cold plunges as much as I can. Saunas, if I can get my hands on one, if you have the ability to go in. I know not everybody has, but you know, the more you can expose yourself to that environment, as firefighters, we're in that high heat environment, your ability to operate in that, you know, really goes up when you're in a sauna.
Well, and the detox, I mean, just the
Huge.
detox alone, right?
Huge, yeah.
There's enough studies out there that you can find the whys for that. What about diet, though? I know you do a lot of fasting work.
Yeah, so we know as firefighters, I think the #1 killer of firefighters now, of line of duty deaths, those that are not necessarily didn't die on the job, but are active firefighters, is cancer. You know, we're exposed to so much stuff, and the stress, again, like we talked about, high sympathetic environment just makes it worse. So I use the FMD, Fast Mimicking Diet, by Walter Longo. I'm not supported by him in any way. He's got a great book out there called The Longevity Diet. You can check it all out. But it's basically a 5-day fast that presses reset on your body, gets rid of all those cancerous cells through that autophagy, and then generates new healthy cells as well as stem cells. So I think that's like a minimum. Every firefighter should do that at least twice a year.
Twice a year.
Twice a year. And that's just my own personal practice. Walter Longo's got more information on it, so check him out.
Right on, man. Any last things you want to share, brother?
Just know that, again, it takes some dedication. There's plenty of people out there to help with your injury if you're in that injured state. But once you're past that injury state, maintain your health. Always be on top of it. And foundation is the best way to keep yourself athletic and ready for anything.
Well then, I think it's time to go get some food.
Let's do it.
Thanks, bro.
Okay, thank you.